friends. Remember a few weeks ago when I did a video trying resin? Yeah, I went down a bit of a rabbit hole. So I guess I need to try resin again. Let's just take a look at everything that I have. I have 1,000,001 molds. Some are new, some I got secondhand, and some I bought for other projects. I have this pearlescent UV resin that I got from Let's Resin. I have a bunch of bottles of colored UV resin, an absolute butt-ton of mica powders. Why I have this many, I don't know. I obviously way overbought. I was just really excited to try resin, and I have a major problem. I have bunches of glitter, which obviously I didn't buy just for resin, but boy do I have me some glitter. And I have this giant box of various mix-ins. I especially love these little fruit mix-ins. I buy a lot of stuff and hoard it for the day that I need to use it. I also upped my tool game and got a bunch of silicone cups, some more silicone tools, more tweezers because I love a good tweezer. I got lighters so that I don't have to get my heat gun out. I got more gloves, and I got some masks. So I am more than prepared. Okay, first I need my gloves. I got size small because you guys in the comments said that I should. Will these fit better? Oh yes. Now I'm ready to do some surgery. Then I need my mask. Okay, I'm gonna start with the pearlescent UV resins. Let me just open them all and put the little squeezy lids on them. Okay, ready. We have pink, red, orange, green, light blue, blue, light purple, purple, and white. Well, there's 2 bottles of the white. And I'm not sure what these are going to look like, so I'm going to do some swatches in the form of making tiny little test pieces. And I have these bead making molds, so that seems perfect. I'll just make 1 bead in each color. Alright, after curing them and demolding them, here's what we've got. Now let's make some stuff. First, I'm gonna try these sea creature molds. I actually got these for specifically this jellyfish. And I want to try this with these pearlescent resins because I want to see if I can make them with different parts being different colors. So I'm going to start with the light blue pearlescent resin for some of the tentacle dangly bits. And I'm using one of these little silicone tools to try and make sure that the resin gets into every little crevice, because I remember that from the first time. I cured the blue resin, and then I went back in with the light purple for the rest of the little dangles and cured that. Then I used the white pearly color for the head part, or maybe it's the actual body part of the jellyfish. And then I went back over the tentacles with regular blue and purple instead of light blue and light purple. I just kind of wanted to see how it would look if one side was darker than the other. I'm really not sure how people do projects with multiple colors like this without it spreading everywhere. Also, I bought that pack of 3 lighters so I wouldn't have to use my heat gun, and they don't have any fluid in them because, of course, they don't, so I still ended up using my heat gun. After curing the whole thing, I apparently still missed a few spots down here, so that kind of sucks. And it's a little bendy, so I'm kind of worried it's going to break. I'm going to try again, but since I actually like the darker colors better, I think I'm going to stick with just the blue and the purple. Well, here's the second try. I can't tell if it's an improvement or not. The colors are prettier, but I still ended up with holes at the end, and there's more places where the blue bled into the white. And I still think it might break depending on what I do with it. Okay, next, I want to see what happens if I mix a little bit of clear resin into the pearly resin. I mean, probably nothing that exciting, but maybe it lightens the color a bit, or maybe it looks cooler in some way. I don't know. So I'm gonna test it in this little sea turtle section of the mold. And I have some resin left over, and we don't want to waste it, so I'll make a little baby turtle. And I'm also gonna make a ring in this ring mold, but you can barely see what I'm doing. Now, before curing that, I also want to see what happens when you mix two colors together. I mean, I know what will happen, the same thing that happens whenever you mix colors, but I still want to see how it'll come out. Looking back at this now, I should have tested something a little more fun, like blue and green or purple and red, but instead I went for a blue and purple mix to make this seahorse. And the last test that I want to do in this mold is to mix some glitter in. I'm using red, and I'm not sure what glitter I want to use, but I decided that I wanted to use this small dark red glitter. And the result is actually not what I expected. I'm not sure why exactly, but it actually made it uglier. Like the red part of the pearly resin just disappeared, and it just looks like silvery pearl and red glitter. Someone explain this to me. Is it just how my eyes are perceiving it now, or did it actually affect the makeup of the resin? This is just not the super sparkly red that I was expecting. Here are all three after curing compared to the original pearly colors. Alright, then I didn't really have enough of trying things with multiple colors next to each other, so I'm gonna try this mermaid tail mold. I'm just making dots on this rather than focusing on colors staying in one spot, so it's not going to matter too much if they bleed a little. I'm using light purple, light blue, and pink. Now once that was done, I cured it, and then I used white pearly resin to coat the whole thing and make it nice and even. So one side will be spots, and the other side is white. And look, I finally got a lighter with actual fuel in it. So now that we're bubble free, I think, we can cure it, and here's how it looks. I do think I should have used darker colors for the spots, like maybe blue, purple, and red, versus the light blue, light purple, and pink. Okay, then putting white on the back of the mermaid tail gave me a great idea. So I'm gonna pull out this light switch mold. I'm not actually sure if this is something you would normally use UV resin in because it's a lot larger than the little jewelry pieces, but we're going to try it. I'm starting with clear resin as a sort of base layer. And the one thing that I really struggle with is how do you keep the resin from like pulling together and leaving all of these little holes? Even though I know that there's plenty of resin on there, it won't spread out and cover the whole mold, even when I guide it there. I tried even dragging the resin up the sides of the mold to like slow down the pooling thing that it's doing, and then I just jammed it in the lamp before it could move. Then, for the next layer, I'm going in again with a little clear resin, but then I'm going to add sprinkles. Because the white pearly resin reminded me of frosting, and that made me think of sprinkles. I spread all of those around and cured it in the lamp, but then I added one more layer of clear resin. I didn't want the white resin to run up inside of the sprinkles because then it would look like they were inside the frosting, and I wanted them to be sitting on top. So the clear resin is going to fill in all of the little spaces so that the white doesn't get in there. Make sense? Now finally, for the very last layer, I used up all of the white resin and popped open the second bottle to coat the whole back of the light switch. Now after curing all of that, it does seem a little warped, so maybe this is not the best project for UV resin, but it did come out really cute. Maybe if I just get really aggressive with a screwdriver, I can flatten it. Okay, now I also want to try this sphere mold that I have, and I have no idea where I got this. I think it might have come in a set of used molds that I bought off someone off Facebook. Either way, I want to make a marble. I rubber banded this together just because it is a little flimsy and I didn't want it to come apart too easily. So I just set to squirting some purple resin in there and then stopping to sort of tap the mold so all of the resin settles. This is definitely going to have bubbles in it, and I am more than okay with that. I am starting to run out of resin, so here I'm thinking about what I'm going to do instead of thinking about what I'm doing, and blam. At first, I thought that I accidentally squeezed the mold, but watching this back, I think the air blast from the bottle exploded the mold apart. Either way, there is now resin all over. And I can't cure it like this because even if I did wipe most of it up, it'll all cure together and it won't be smooth. Plus, I was already running out of resin and now I splattered a bunch all over. So I salvaged what I could into a cup and cured the mold so that I could just peel all of the resin off and try again. Now with a clean mold, let's add a bunch of clear resin and mix that in so I hopefully have enough, and get to work putting it in the mold. The hole in the mold is tiny, and I don't have a nice squeeze tip bottle anymore to work with. So I'm kind of just shoving resin in with a pokey tip tool. It's pretty messy and painful to watch. I should have at least started the mold open and just poured a little in the bottom to save myself the tiniest bit of torture, but I wasn't thinking. I did, however, think to stop and cure the mold every so often so I wouldn't be trying to cure an entire marble at once. However, after one of the times, I was trying to just pick some cured resin off the top of the mold, not realizing that it actually connected via drip to the bottom part of the marble, and I pulled the whole thing up and apart. And stuck my thumb in the only half-cured resin. So after that, I could just not bring myself to start all over again. Mission Marble was a fail. So instead, I'm going to pull out this paperclip bookmark mold and use the purple resin in that. And that came out really cute. Definitely makes up for that stupid marble attempt. Okay, one more mold that I want to try is these balloon animal molds. I'm a little confused how they work because this middle spot isn't attached in any way. So I'm pretty sure that resin is just going to get in there, but we'll see. I'm going to try red pearly resin, and I'm making sure to really shove it into all of the little side areas where it doesn't normally want to flow. And I ran out of red pretty quick, so I cured what I had in there, and then I finished it up with orange. It's not going to look great, but I'm sort of looking at this as a test piece because I'm not entirely sure that this is even going to come out that good. And I was right that the resin got into this area below his belly, but the bigger issue was getting the mold off of his head. See, his nose goes to the left and his ears go to the right, and the mold takes a lot of stretching and pulling to get it off. I thought he actually might be stuck forever. I did eventually get him out of there, though. Alright, now, since I'm not the best at resin, a lot of the pieces have some scraggly edges where the resin, overran the mold. So I used a craft knife very carefully to trim off what I could. Any danglies that were too thick or wouldn't cut very easily, I just left them. I have a terrible tendency to accidentally stab myself with craft knives, and I really wanted to avoid that today. Then I pulled out some sandpaper to help get rid of the rest of those uneven bits. And I'm learning from you guys because I added a little bit of water to the sandpaper and sanded that way to avoid all of the resin dust in the air. I'm really only sanding flat sides, and I used 2 different grits. Wet sanding was great for my lungs, but definitely made cleanup a little bit longer, because the wet resin kind of made a film on all of the pieces that I had to go scrub off. But once they were all cleaned up, I'm just going to add a thin layer of clear resin to bring back the shine. This is why I only sanded the flat sides. I knew that I would be able to add this last layer. After curing those, all these pieces are done. So let's look at everything that I was able to make. We have these 2 jellyfish, Not sure what I'm going to use them for since they aren't matches enough to make earrings. And even though I was able to strengthen them a little with that clear resin layer, I still think they would break too easily to use as a keychain. Then there's the mama and the baby turtle. I think that the sparklier side is the bottom of the mold, like all of the shimmer kind of sunk. Then we have the seahorse. I love him, he's so pretty. We have the lobster. And I did put a plain red pearlescent resin on the back, or like the last layer of the mold, so you can really see the difference. I made these 2 little octopi off camera with the blue pearly resin, and I am definitely going to make these into earrings because they are so cute. We have the mermaid tail, and I'm still just not really a fan of the colors because they're just too light and blend together. I also made a little purple manta ray off camera, and he's so tiny and delicate. You can see a little bubble on the tail that I was able to fill in with a little bit of clear resin, but I still think he's going to break pretty easily. I also tried a larger red glitter making this star, and it's still just not great. It really changes the color of the red resin. I used up the rest of the resin from the turtles and that star in my ring mold to make a couple of rings that actually came out not too terrible. I mean, they're not perfect by any means, but they're definitely better than these ones that I made with the plain pearlescent resin. For whatever reason, even though I made these rings after the other ones, they came out way worse. So many little voids. Then I made 7 paperclip bookmarks. Each of these I did reinforce with a clear coat of resin on each side to try and make them a little bit sturdier. I tried some of those iridescent flakes in the mix, and this came out really ugly. I made an orange glitter bookmark with a star for absolutely no reason at all. Not a one. Nothing special about this. I really like this blue one with a bow, and there's this light blue one with a circle. And then I used up the rest of the pink pearly resin to make this plain one. And this one is way flimsier than the other ones, even with 2 clear coats on it. Then we have 2 balloon animals, a big one and a small one. I couldn't figure out how to remove the area under the belly and still make it shiny, so I just left it. And the little one, I added clear resin because I didn't have quite enough blue, but apparently I didn't mix it very well because there's this clear bubble right here. And then on the other side, there's like a weird void. So these aren't that great, but if I could figure out how to either pour these without this middle part or fix it effectively, these would be amazing. To use up the last little bits of resin, I use this jewel mold to make some little jewels. I have no idea what I would use these for, but they're really cute. And last, this light switch cover. The colors of the sprinkles aren't my favorite, but they're what I had. And it's still really warped, but I think it's really cute. So that was everything I made. I ran out of time to use all of the supplies that I had, but I did use up all of the pearlescent resin. What did you think? Was there anything I should try next time, or are you sick of resin? Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.